Hello and welcome. This is the Leaders Front, your leadership show. We profile and interview leaders on the field. And today we are privileged to have a leader on the field joining us for the show today. We are looking forward for a great discussion. So please join us on the social media platform. We are on Facebook, we are on Instagram, we are on YouTube. You can connect with us as well as on DGTV as well. I'm your host, Zach Wangi, and most welcome. My guest today is Mr. Sam Asena. Grateful to have you with us today, sir. We're going to go ahead and hear an introduction from him and also the topic for the day. Today we're going to be learning about self-leadership, a very interesting and important subject. Tune into the show for more discussion as we go ahead to learn more on the same topic and the subject. I want to start by introducing our guest today, Mr. Asena.
Yes.
I want to give you a chance and an opportunity. Could you kindly introduce yourself to our viewers?
Sure. Yeah, my name is Samuel Winamo Asena. I wear many hats. I'm an author of a book entitled Blessed to be a Blessing. I'm a course and content creator and the founder of Optimize Institute, a company that deals in helping people and institutions make the most of who they are and what they have. So we do courses, we do coaching, we do a bit of consulting at Optimize Institute. And I'm also a leader at church, being part of the pastoral team at Redemption Sanctuary City Center.
Thank you so much, Mr. Asena. We are grateful and glad to have you with us for the show. Maybe to get us started, maybe you can just start by introducing to us. What do you mean when you talk about self-leadership? It's been said that the first commandment in leadership is know thyself first.
Yeah.
So when we talk about self-leadership, what are we talking about here?
Self-leadership, as you can hear, is a word that actually encompasses two words. There is the self part and the leadership part. I'm sure most of our viewers know that when we talk about leadership, we are talking about influence. So when we are addressing the matter of self-leadership, we are looking at your ability to intentionally influence your thinking, your feelings, and your actions towards the objective that you want to reach. That's what we consider to be self-leadership, that you're able to align your thinking, align your feelings, align your actions towards a particular desired end, and push yourself in that direction until you achieve and accomplish what it is you have set out to do. Then we consider you somebody who has led themselves.
Wow, that's quite an interesting definition.
Yeah.
So when we talk about influencing ourselves, and we talk about aligning our thinking, what are some of the skills we are talking about here, or what are some of the competencies that one needs to know or to grow in order to be able to lead themselves better, so to say?
The greatest skill that I would look at, which is foundational, which must actually be at the forefront of anything you're doing, I would call it self-awareness. Being able to know who you are, what makes you tick, what you struggle with, what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses. Many times we talk about SWOT analysis for companies and businesses and all that. And many people do that simply to fulfill an obligation. It's more like because I'm preparing this business plan, I need to have these things clear for the people to see. But if people understand the depth of the significance of that exercise and move it even from the organizational perspective and think about themselves as a person, then the amount of self-awareness that can be generated out of a tool like the SWOT analysis is great, because that then informs where you are and where probably you would want to go. Because self-awareness is what tells you what kind of a person you are, where you stand on a number of issues. So what are your values? Everybody has values, whether they recognize them or not.
Well, that's
so it's always important that you examine and understand, what makes me me, what makes me who I am, and where am I, even in as far as the journey to the destination that I want to go is concerned. Self-awareness encompasses understanding that desired end that we are talking about. Are you just floating like a cloud, or is there a particular direction you're going to? So without that, it is impossible to lead yourself or lead anyone or anything, actually, for that matter. Yeah, because the idea is, if I don't know where I am, how do I say I'm heading in a particular direction? It becomes contradictory. But when I know that I am standing 40 degrees north, 34 degrees east, then I know that if I want to go southwest, there is a particular path that I will take. That's how significant the whole aspect of self-awareness is in as far as leadership is concerned.
Okay.
We can also talk about the idea of self-regulation.
Maybe before we go to the next skill, maybe on the same of self-awareness.
Yes.
We've heard of are there some tools available today in the market, or are there techniques and modalities of trying to know who I am? There are people who talk about the DISC profile.
Yes.
There are people who talk about the life languages. I don't know. Are there any you would want to share or recommend for that matter?
I would talk about, I would not go into mentioning maybe what you've already mentioned, but I would look at personality testing as one of the things that somebody needs to do. There are many different tools available for people to test their personalities. Myers-Briggs is one of the most famous tools somebody can use to test, alongside many others. But I must hasten to add that tools will tell you mostly where you are, but they do not they do not determine where you'll end up. And I'm saying this because I'm a believer in what a modern psychologist by the name Dr. Benjamin Hardy says, and he's even written a book about it. He says personality is not permanent.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so the idea that this is who I am is actually anti-leadership. You as a person, or as somebody who's looking to become better, you must not become comfortable in the definition that you have given yourself in this present moment. It is good to know who you are and where you are in this present moment, but personality is not permanent. Says that is not where it should end. You should be looking at the kind of person that you want to become going into the future, and you begin to take steps now towards that future that you are pursuing. So the tool is important in opening your eyes to who you are, but don't let your search or your understanding be limited by what the tool is able to bring out. Ask yourself, beyond what I've learned, yes, I know that this is who I am. I know that this is what makes me tick. I will tell you, one of the traits of people who are not able to lead or who will not lead effectively is people who have become comfortable in their own skin. And therefore they are saying, don't tinker so much with anything. This is the way I am.
This works for me.
Yeah, this is don't rock the boat. Basically, that's what they are saying. Leaders exist to rock the boat.
Wow, they are disruptors.
Yes, leaders must rock the boat. If you don't rock the boat enough, before long you'll realize that you are leading from the past.
That's interesting. So rock the boat, but ensure you don't capsize.
No, yes. Because their fundamentals are important in everything that you're doing.
Okay.
So that's where the issue of values comes into play and all that, because the fundamentals don't change. Sometimes rocking the boat simply means a change of tactic, a change of strategy, and all that. But the goal, the fundamentals, the values, the things which matter, they remain the same for every person, for every organization. You know, there are certain things which are key and critical. Those remain. As long as your changes are not touching on those things, they are touching on how, or you know, the way, the path that we are going to follow to get to where we want.
Okay.
Then you're good.
That's
that is
good.
how you ensure that you're rocking the boat,
but you're not
without
capsizing. That's good to note. That's good to note.
Yes.
Now, still on the same self-awareness, I know that's one of the skills that one needs to learn
Yes.
if they are to develop themselves as matter of self-leadership is concerned.
Yes.
Maybe building still on the same. You know, when you talk about self-awareness, I'm going to learn my weaknesses,
Yes.
and I'll also learn my strengths.
Exactly.
So maybe how do I leverage on my strengths? I don't know, do I ignore my weaknesses? What do I do with my weaknesses? And what do I do with my strengths? Maybe you can help us there.
Okay. When it comes to strengths, we normally say that, especially if you're working in a team with other people. I know we are talking about self-leadership, but you see, it is individuals that make teams.
Okay.
And the best way to contribute to your team is for you to know your strengths and to double down on them.
Okay. So know your strengths.
Yes,
and double down on them.
Double down on them.
Okay.
Especially if there are other members of the team who can handle these areas where you are not so good.
Okay.
When you start out as a solo or an individual, it's possible for you to need to do a lot of other things around your weaknesses. So I'm not saying that your weaknesses should be ignored, but by and large, if you can focus on your areas of strength, if you can become the very best that there is in your particular area of strength, whether that's talent or an ability or a skill, if you can become the best at that, then you will actually be able to afford these other people to actually take care of these other things that are an issue for you.
Okay.
But you should also address your weaknesses, because they have a way of creeping up when you least expect it. And you don't want to be completely blindsided, like you're not aware of the effect of your weaknesses. Your weaknesses are like your blind spots. So you want to be aware of them. Even if you are not dealing with them directly yourself, have you put systems in place to manage their likely negative impact? And this partly happens, like I'm saying, by having people in the team who are able to do a lot of these other things that need to be done. I'll give you a good example with what we are doing here. There are very many people who are involved in making this program a success. You are here sitting as the host of this program. There are so many things that could go wrong around here, but there's very little you can do about it while you're sitting in this position. People have to take care of these other things. So there's everyone standing in their place and their position of strength and doing the right thing, just to make sure that the whole project or whatever it is moving forward as should be.
That's good to learn, that position people along their strengths, and that helps minimize the weaknesses.
Yes.
You are sharing with us about more skills that we need to learn in terms of self-leadership, and you did mention self-regulation. Maybe you can expound on that.
Yeah, self-regulation. You see, it's one thing to know yourself, and the idea of regulation comes when you're on the path towards your desired objective, your desired end. the truth of the matter is that your weaknesses will play a role in trying to sidetrack you. And there are very many other things that will also come along the way. Inevitably, they show up along the way and keep you from, you know, pursuing your goal at full speed. Now, regulation comes in, self-regulation comes in when you're able to tell yourself, not this way, but that way, because that is the path that leads us to where we want to end up. So we talk about the discipline of an athlete. We talk about the discipline of a soldier. That's all about regulation. That there are very many interesting things that could be going on the side. But I want you to imagine, think about Eliud Kipchoge, and when he was doing the Ineos challenge, he had set a target for himself that he's going to run a marathon in less than 2 hours. So I want you to imagine what kind of focus the man had. A cat passing by the wayside was not going to distract him. He did not have time. His mind was set and focused on hitting the target. So all these other things that would be happening around him were sideshows. He was focused on one thing and one thing alone. Can I clock less than 2 hours? And because of that focus, that regulation is what brings in, is what enforces the focus. You know, many of us are quick to say, you know, I'm focused, I'm disciplined, I'm really committed to what I want to do. But regulation is what makes that focus a reality.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yes.
It reminds me of the so-called speed governors that are fixed on vehicles to try and maintain and keep. Even if the driver gets excited on the downward trend, the governor will still do its work. But I want to just build up on the same. When we talk about self-regulation, are we in any way assuming that it's on a smooth path? Because I'm assuming life is very uneven. If I say I'm focused and I'll not be distracted, but we've come to learn that life is not really that smooth. There will come distractions, sometimes in the form of crisis. So how do I still retain my focus, even in those seasons of crisis, even if I'm self-regulating myself?
You go back to your values. You go back to why you started this whole journey in the first place. Because like you're saying, life, somebody somewhere once said that life is what happens to us while we are trying to pursue our plan. Yeah, life is what happens to us when we are trying to pursue the plan. So a lot of uncertainties, a lot of things that are unexpected will come up along the way. But if you remain focused, if you maintain a laser focus on whatever it is you set out to do, the resistance will not take your eyes off the goal. You will continue to push, you will continue to move, you will continue to work until you actually get to where you wanted to end up. Simply because you know what informs your decision, what informs your path. And this is also where the input from other people comes into play. You need people, and that is another thing that we'll, I think, talk about. It's motivation is also a critical thing that that we need to have as a skill or as something that can drive us along the way. Because with resistance comes the feeling of getting worn out. With resistance comes the feeling of, is this thing really worth pursuing? But sufficient motivation ensures that you're able to continue. And sometimes motivation comes from within. But there are times when you just need to hear somebody else's voice telling you, you got this. You can make it. You got this. This is, I know you have what it takes to make this happen. Yes.
Wow, that's critical. So we talk about self-awareness here as skills we need to learn. We talk about self-regulation. You've also added motivation. So any more skills you think we can learn or grow or develop as we look forward to growing ourselves, to become better leaders of ourselves.
Yes.
Before we are able to lead other people.
Mm-hmm. We must as well talk about the significance of social skills.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Many people know what everyone else needs to do, except what they themselves need to do.
Mm-hmm.
Because when they look at themselves through the lens of perfection.
Okay.
And when they look at everyone else, they look at everyone else through the lens of imperfection and weakness. So as a leader, one of the things that I love about self-leadership is a quote by this, I think he's an ancient Chinese philosopher, Lao Tzu, who says that leading others is, let me try to see if I can remember the exact words, but he says,
mastering.
Yeah, leading others is mastery, but leading self,
Is the one that says, talk about mastering self.
Yes.
Is strength and...
Yeah, mastering others is strength, but mastering self is true power.
Wow. Yeah,
yes.
Yeah.
Mastering others is strength, but mastering self is true power.
That's profound.
Yes.
Because I think many times we want to look at what we can change in others as opposed to what we can change in ourselves. It's always easier to look at what everybody else needs to do and to change.
Yes.
But hardly do we want to put ourselves on the table and say what needs to change.
Yes.
Now, you're talking about social skills here. And I think you're drawing towards something they are calling these days emotional intelligence. I don't know whether that touches on self-leadership.
Yes.
And how critical is that? Maybe define for us when you talk about emotional leadership. Emotional intelligence. It's become a buzzword in the last few years.
Yeah.
In matters self-development. So what are we talking about here?
It's actually more than a buzzword and a critical component of leadership.
Okay.
And functioning in any society.
Okay.
Yes. When we talk about emotional intelligence, I would define emotional intelligence as your ability to understand your own emotions, your own self, and the emotions of others, and managing both of those components in a way that at the end of the day, everyone feels valued, everyone feels like they belong, everyone feels like they have a part in what is going on. So it's about understanding your own emotions and partly being aware of them and managing them.
Okay.
Managing them in the sense that you're able to rein yourself in.
So if I may just come in there.
Yes.
How do you compare? I know we've always drummed the drum of IQ, the intelligence quotient.
Yes.
That's been the what everybody went for.
Yes.
But now over the years, there's been the development.
Yes.
And now people are concerned also in the corporate world, even in employment. The key word is not just are you able to do it, but can you get along with the rest of the people?
Yes.
So how critical is the emotional intelligence? Matters corporate matters.
It is as essential to the functioning of life. Forget about just the corporate world. Even at the family level, even at the community level, emotional intelligence is huge because now we are not struggling with IQ. People have competency. IQ is about literacy, numeracy, the ability to just get these things done, things that have to do with, logic and intelligence. But we are having people who are very good scientists, who are very good engineers, but they cannot function within a society. And that is where emotional intelligence comes into play, because emotional intelligence will show you that it is not enough that you're the smartest person in the room. You need to know how to bring others towards the achieving of corporate goals, of targets and objectives that involve everyone else. Because what you'll realize in today's workplace, for example, is that a lot of the work is being done in teams. So the idea of being a loner really doesn't cut it anymore. If you choose to be a loner, except in very specific industries and fields, you're going to really struggle. But you see, even that person who maybe decides, you know, I really don't want to deal with people that much, so I'm gonna run. You know, I'm a doctor, so I'm gonna run my own clinic. I don't want to deal with the politics of a hospital and all that. You quickly get to realize that even with your own clinic, you need to employ a receptionist there to deal with the people. You are still going to be meeting people. These people, the patients you're meeting are people.
And the suppliers.
Yes. You cannot run away from people.
That's very interesting.
I don't care. Even if you're a programmer, there comes a time when you need to talk to people. So you cannot overemphasize the significance of emotional intelligence. If IQ is book smartness, then EQ is street smartness.
That's an interesting definition.
And you need a combination of both book smartness and street smartness to function effectively.
Let me just interject there a bit. When we talk about emotional intelligence, not to delve too much into it, but I feel there's a common belief that men are better at handling emotions than women. When we talk about emotional intelligence, can women have higher emotional intelligence than men? Is this a gender issue, or?
I would say...
is it a sensitive subject?
Men are actually... this is not scientific, so I'm not speaking scientifically. I don't have numbers and figures. But in as much as we say men are good at handling emotions, the truth of the matter is that men bottle their emotions. And this is why you'll hear cases of somebody who's been very fine and very okay, and all of a sudden you hear they either committed suicide or murder-suicide. So this guy kills the whole family and then turns the gun or whatever weapon on himself. Why? Because they did not face their emotions. They did not face the turmoil that was going on within. They continued to bottle it and bottle it and bottle it and look okay on the outside. Men don't talk about their issues. And some of it is the conditioning of the society. The society expects a strong man. The society expects a man who will take anything and be okay with it. So out of that expectation, men will bottle up. Even when they feel offended, when they feel that they've been stepped on, they will take it easy. Women, on the other hand, talk about anything and everything. So I would say, to a certain, it's not a gender issue, but because there are still women who will not handle themselves very well. But the problem with many women is not bottling. The problem with them is they can express to the extreme. The expression of what they are going through and what is happening can take an extreme turn. That is why somebody will take someone's certificates and burn them because
to prove a point.
Yes, they are feeling. They want to show that they are really worked up about the whole thing. So both of those responses are wrong. The one who bottles has an issue. The one who over-expresses also is not managing. Because remember, emotional intelligence is the ability to know and manage.
That's powerful. That's powerful. I'll briefly just cut you short. And I think we are learning a lot here. We're going to be back. We are taking a short break. We'll be back. This is your show, The Leaders Front. We'll be back shortly.